Hello, everybody. Langosta here, and today we have another episode of Rifle Rods and Broads, and I'm here with my co-host, Jojo.
Aloha, and I'm excited. Episode 3.
Episode 3.
How about that?
So, guys, tonight we're going to be talking about guns.
Talking about guns.
You know, you can't have a hunting and shooting and bow hunting show without and fishing show
It's
without.
rifles, rods, and broads.
That's right. But today we're talking about actually handguns.
Uh-oh.
We're talking about trail guns. So, Jojo, what do you think of trail? When somebody says trail guns, what does trail guns mean to you?
Trail guns to me basically means this is what I'm going to have on my side, somewhere on my body while I'm hunting. It's not going to be my primary weapon. However, it's going to be my primary protection when it comes to my own self-defense. That's my thought.
Right on. And that's exactly what it is. I think most people call it like a backup gun or something like that. And
The sidearm.
The sidearm, yeah. So, you know, infantry people have had a backup 45 and is not new.
Right.
You know, people have a lot of different ideas of what that gun should be and what's the purpose of it. And so what are some of the scenarios that, you know, people think about when they think about like you need a backup gun?
So for me, it's kind of like it's the gun I hope to never use, but always want to have. Right. So when I'm out there hunting, I want to make sure that my safety is being taken care of. And what do I have for my own personal safety? I've got a backup arm. I've got a trail gun. I've got something that in case any crazy creature comes after me, it's like I'm ready.
So what's your backup gun?
So my backup gun is the Glock 20 SF California OK.
Okay.
10 millimeter.
Oh,
Semi-auto.
Okay, that's a beefy
And I'm
gun.
only packing one, so
Okay.
I don't got a treasure chest that we got going on over here tonight.
Yeah, well, we do have a little show and tell.
It's like the end of the rainbow over
We
here.
got a fun box here. We got a fun box. So, okay, cool. So, hey, a 10 millimeter, that's a pretty respectable caliber. There's a couple things, right? When you talk about your backup gun or your trail gun, there's what caliber should it be and whether it should be a semi-auto
Right.
or a wheel gun. So let's talk about how you're going to carry it first, and we'll get into the second part of this, whether it should be a semi-auto or a wheel gun. So how do you carry yours?
So, you know, to be honest with you, I haven't figured it out yet.
Okay.
But I've worn it on my hip.
Okay.
I've worn it on my chest, on my bino harness, and what feels most comfortable to me is kind of wearing it on the chest.
Okay.
So as a part of my bino harness, I've got an attachment. I run a marsupial bino harness. I've got the attachment down on the bottom, and that for me just feels more comfortable.
I agree with you. I think I've worn them both. I've worn them on a hip and a hip holster. I got a couple different holsters for different stuff, but I did bring one here. This is a Alaskan Diamond D chest holster. This is for a 1911 in this case. I've got another one made for a 45 long Colt, but I've got a setup here where I can carry an extra mag. So, you know, when you're hiking around, you've got your backpack and stuff. I think I agree with you. A chest holster is one of the better ways to carry it. And I've carried this quite a bit. It's pretty worn. I'm gonna.
So for me, the chest holster that I have goes directly, and I should have actually brought it tonight. It's attached right under my bino harness, and it's relatively light, doesn't take up too much space. And when I'm out hunting, my bino harness is always with me, right?
Yeah.
So it's just like, it just seems like it's right there. And one of the things that I wanted to make sure was available is just easy access. And it also just doesn't get in the way. Because when I'm out there, I'm archery hunting and I've got a sidearm. The one thing that I don't want it to do is that when I'm drawing back on my bow, I'm not looking for it to, you know, hinder my drawback and then having any issues with my release.
Yeah, that'd be bad.
That'd be very bad.
That'd be a missed shot for sure.
Won't be good.
So I've had this one for a while. I've carried the 1911, which is a full steel gun. It's kind of a heavier gun. Mm-hmm. Not a problem. You can pretty much hike with it all day. And then I have a 5.5 inch 45 long Colt. That's the only one of the ones I didn't bring today. I'm gonna order one for one of these guns in my little fun bag here. So
the treasure chest?
The treasure chest, yeah. So you've got a 10 mil.
Yep.
What do you think is the minimum caliber somebody should carry as a trail gun?
So I've kind of gone down the rabbit hole in regard to what I'm going to get, right? Because when I started researching what my trail gun is going to be or what the handgun is going to be when I go hunting, it's like, okay, what's the worst case scenario? Because if I'm hunting some of the things that are coming to my mind is I'm in nature's element. I'm no longer in Jojo's element. I'm in nature's element. So what are the things that I need to feel protected from? And obviously it's the predators, right? One of the first things that I'm thinking about is mountain lions. And to be honest with you, that's the one animal that I'm most freaked out about when I'm out there.
Okay.
And I don't know obviously you've been hunting, but for me, whenever I'm hiking, I'm hunting, I'm going to a spot and it's just like, I'm listening for the rustle in the bush.
Yeah.
And if it's breezy or if it's windy, I don't ever think that it's wind first. I think it's a mountain lion first.
No, it's true. Mountain lions have definitely been increasing in population here in California.
They have been. They've been protected, and they're doing well.
They're coming up in the numbers. There's mountain lions here in Griffith Park.
It's crazy.
Yeah, there's a few cats up there.
I wouldn't be surprised here in Los Angeles that the mountain lions, what was it, like P66 or P something 5 years from now, I'll bet you money he gets a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame.
They're pretty well protected and pretty well loved.
And they were on the news quite a bit.
Yeah.
But, I think about mountain lions, obviously black bears. There's a huge population here in California. Where am I hunting most? It's in California. But then I start kind of thinking about, okay, well, I'm going out of state. What are the other things that I could encounter? So then obviously you're thinking brown bears, grizzly bears. And in my research, which isn't a lot because I'm by no means a gun or handgun expert, it was like, okay, well, what can take down a grizzly?
Yeah.
And really what started popping up was the 10 millimeter. And that's kind of become the popular hunting sidearm.
Yeah.
So I kind of went in that direction and that's what I chose. Now, again, like I said earlier, hope to never use it. But if there is ever a case that I do, I'm happy to know that I've got something that's got some takedown power all the way up to the biggest predator that I could come across.
I have seen an episode, this guy that was on one of those outdoor channels, he had his own show. Mm-hmm. Oh God, he had this tall dude in Texas, long hair, not Ted Nugent. He had a 10 mil and he shot a
I'm sure that's what everybody had in their mind. He's talking about Ted.
Yeah, no, it's not the Nuge. He shot a Cape Buffalo with a 10 mil mag. It was a 1911 format thing, but he shot it broadside and it went through the Cape Buffalo, went through the heart, and he killed the Cape Buffalo one shot with a 10 mil. So if you can kill a Cape Buffalo, you can kill no problem anything as your backup gun. Yeah, here in North America, I think.
It's got that power though, right?
Yeah, and it's got a heavy bullet too.
It does. And one of the things that I kept going back and forth on, because as I was Googling, it was like, okay, 9 millimeter versus 10 millimeter, what you should carry. And obviously one of the things that I do sacrifice, and I don't practice with my handgun every single day or every single week, is going to be the accuracy of it. It's got some more power, and until I use it more and more, practice with it more and more, right? A lot of the debates that I hear between the two is like, do you want to be more accurate in a situation where your heart rate is just going crazy and, you're faced with this predator in front of you, or do you want something that you may be more accurate with a 9 millimeter, which obviously is not going to have the takedown power as a 10 millimeter, but you're going to be more accurate. You're going to place your shots. You may not miss. And by the way, regardless if you're using a wheel gun or a semi-automatic, there's a limited count that is in that mag or how many bullets you're going to shoot. So I went with the 10 mil, haven't had to use it yet, which is fantastic. I hope to never have to use it. And it just is a decorative item while I hunt for me. It's kind of interesting to see what people use themselves and kind of what thought process they go through. But that's kind of what I went through when I chose my gun.
I think many people go through that same scenario. Now, when you chose the 10 mil, you're at the upper end of the spectrum, right? As far as a semi-auto power. So when somebody asks me, hey, as your trail gun, backup gun, are you going to use a semi-auto or are you going to use a wheel gun? So yes, the wheel gun has less capacity, 100%, fit at least 10, right?
Yep.
For a California mag. There's only 2 10 millimeter handguns on the roster that I'm aware of at this point. I think it's the Kimber.
California.
For California, it's a Kimber. It's a Kimber Target 2 or something like that, which is a 1911 format or platform, and the Glock. So you don't have a lot of choices, but that's definitely on the high end of the spectrum, right? Of the power spectrum. So when you think about what does the wheel gun offer you, it offers you a couple of things. It offers you a very wide range of strength, but also sizes. And what I have here in my little fun bag is a Smith & Wesson 686 7-shot. 7 shots. So you got 7 in here. And so this is a small little package. So if you wanted to have a trail gun that was lighter, smaller, but had a little bit more capacity than a 6-shot, then you could go here and you can get some strips. Smith & Wesson really has the market on revolvers. I know the Kimber and even Colt has got some nice revolvers coming out, but Ruger and Smith & Wesson have a special place in my heart. I haven't used it as a trail gun yet, but I bought it with that anticipation. So when I think about a trail gun, I think about what am I going to hunt and what is the scenario? Mm-hmm. If we go on a pig hunt, right? Maybe I wouldn't carry that. I would want a stronger, look, 357 Magnum is a very powerful round, right? But I would want something a little bit more. And what does a little bit more look like? The 686 is the one with the red handle on the overhead here. So that's a 357 Magnum. This is a 44. This is a 44 Magnum here, and then this is a 45 ACP. When I think about what it is that a revolver offers you, it is really two things: the higher power spectrum and the bullets that are offered. So this is a Barnes TSX 225 grain bullet. Okay. This is a cast bullet, 255 grain bullet. This bullet does not expand. This is a solid bullet, okay? You can't shoot, obviously can't be hunting with this in California because of all the crazy stuff. But the equivalent, the newest technology that would offer you the same penetration is this Lehigh Defense. I believe this is the defense bullet. They have a penetrator and they have a defense bullet. Basically, this is not an expanding bullet. Most people look at this and they think, does it open up? Does it have petals? No. The Barnes, this is a Barnes, not the TSX, but this is a Barnes expanding bullet. So this mushrooms out into 4 petals. This does not open. This provides maximum penetration, and it uses the hydrostatic shock upon impact to create, maximum tissue damage.
That thing looks pretty aggressive. It's
pretty crazy. I have not shot anything with it yet. I just loaded these, and I bought this in 44 Magnum for one of these guns here. And then this is a 45 ACP, 225 grain bullet. No, sorry, this is 180 grain Barnes bullet. So this is copper, and copper. This is your traditional cast bullet.
So if you were going out, right, and you're hunting, what sidearm would you take? Would you take the wheel gun or would you take a semi-automatic?
If I was pig hunting, I would take my wheel gun. If I was hunting anything that would be considered dangerous game, and I do consider hogs dangerous game if you get up close.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those things are nasty, man.
Yeah.
And you get a nice bore on you. You got those tusks and those cutters, and it's just like, okay.
So I would definitely have a heavier gun. I would have either a 45 long Colt, one of my 45 long Colts. Mm-hmm. So this is a Smith & Wesson Model 25 with a 4-inch barrel. So it's a shorty. They make this in a 6-inch barrel and even an 8-inch barrel. So
tell me more about that, right? Because as I was researching for my own gun, and you've got these different barrel sizes, what do you give and what do you get when you talk about barrel size?
No, that's a great question, yeah.
When you talk about 4-inch barrel, 6-inch barrel, I mean, these things are going down to like 2-inch barrels, 2.5-inch barrels. What do you give and what do you get?
You're really just giving up weight and how kind of clumsy the gun feels, right? Depends on how you carry it on your pack, right? So I have a hip holster for this. I haven't bought a chest holster. But if you carried this on your chest, this would be no problem. You could totally carry this on a long hunt.
4-inch barrel, not a big problem.
Not a big problem. But you get the benefit, right? You get the benefit of a big bullet because you would use something like this or this. These 3 are all 45 Colts.
What about in terms of accuracy? Is there anything there between the difference in a handgun? I mean, obviously for rifles and barrel length is going to make a difference. Shotgun barrel length is going to make a difference in accuracy. So in terms of from a handgun perspective, what does that do?
Yes, barrel does come into play. And if you have something like this, which is what my dad and I took to Alaska.
I'm not carrying that thing hunting, bro.
This thing is huge, right? It's a 7.5-inch barrel.
That's what she said.
And it's a block of steel. This is a 454 Casull, okay? You would not carry this probably on an average pig hunt. No. But you would. We went fly fishing in Alaska outside of Denali. And I had this. We went on our salmon fishing trip and we went fly fishing. And there's big bears. And for big bears, you need big guns.
I heard there's big bears in Alaska.
There's a couple of them. There's just And when you're out there salmon fishing, they're out there with you. So I carry this in a cross draw holster. It's actually rather comfortable in a cross draw. So you can sit down with it and all that. Carrying this on a regular hip holster on the strong side is a little bit hard. And I do have a chest holster for it, but it's pretty freaking big.
Yeah, you're going to have to be doing like some yoga stretches just to pull that from the chest.
So I got this from Andrew's Leather in Florida. He custom made me this. I gave him the specs on what I wanted, and it's a beautiful handmade holster.
That's nice, man.
Yeah, he does an incredible work.
It's a big gun, bro.
It's a big gun, and it needed a good holster to be able to carry it comfortably. So not going to be climbing mountains with this, not going deep ravines, but
you could almost use that as your trekking pole.
Yeah. But if you're just on a trailhead, you're walking a trailhead that's relatively rolling hills.
Right.
That's not so much a problem. The other thing too, I would carry this, and let's say we're in bear country. Let's say you were black bear hunting or brown bear hunting, but I wasn't hunting. I didn't have a tag. I was just going to go with you. I'd rather carry this than a rifle as your backup.
Yeah.
I really would. If I had just a backpack and this, I wouldn't have a problem with it at all, because I've seen big animals. There's a video of the former owner or the founder of Cold Steel Knives. It's on YouTube, and he went on a Asian water buffalo hunt, and he was going at it with a spear, and he throws the spear at the buffalo, and the buffalo bucks the spear, and it hits the horn, so total miss, and then the animal proceeds to try and kill him, and he pulled out his .454 Casull and shot him pretty much point blank and brought the bull down. So the .454 Casull is a real.
That's got some packing power.
It's a real. It's a small rifle is what it is. Getting back to your question about like accuracy. So, at the extreme of a handgun, this would probably be the most accurate. I've hit bowling pins at 100 yards with this, no problem.
No kidding.
Yeah, Lib blows the crap out of bowling pins at 100 yards. So it's very accurate. And you've got 6 shots. This is you can, at a charging bear, you can fire faster the 6 shots than you could the 3 that are in your rifle.
So if you're being guided in Alaska and your guide walks up and has one of those in their holster,
That'd be good.
I'm good.
I'm good. Yeah.
Yeah. Ain't no bear going to scare me.
You can roll the bear. I think with the right bullets, with a Lehigh Defense bullet or a Barnes, it's gonna do the job. So let me set this thing down on the second camera so you guys could take a look at it. For those of you that are listening to the podcast, if you haven't done so, please go ahead and like and subscribe. And thank you for listening. So getting back to Jojo's question about accuracy, the longer the barrel, 2 things will happen. It has a better sight radius, so you could potentially make the argument that it's a little bit more accurate, but more importantly, you're going to have a little bit more velocity too. That may or may not come into play depending on what load you're shooting. So like if you have a 44 mag with a full load, the velocity is going to be pretty brutal. It's going to make your follow-up shots better, right? The heavier gun. So your trade-off obviously with whether it's a gun, whether it's a rifle or a handgun, is that the heavier the rifle or the handgun are, the less the recoil is going to be.
Right.
So your follow-up shots, your secondary shots are probably going to be a little bit better. So again, all of that goes in vain unless you practice with it. So that's an important factor.
And not only that, it's not like you're going to be shooting at a predator that's like 100 yards away, right? Like this is going to be for in the moment, when it comes to hunting at least. Yeah. In the moment, something's around, you're going to want to scare it off. If it starts kind of charging at you, it's likely going to be in closer range.
Right.
So in regard to that, what would you take? You would take a revolver or a semi-auto?
I would say 90% of the time that I go hunting here in North America, I'll have a wheel gun on me as my backup. And that's mostly because I want the additional power and a hand load, so I know what those loads are going to do. The question then becomes, which one am I going to carry? Am I going to carry this big...
That is the question. You got lots of choices, bro.
.454 Casull.
This is more than a multiple choice question. Yeah. This is A, B, C, D, all of the above.
Yeah. I've spent quite a bit of time actually shooting this.
What are you more comfortable with? Are you more comfortable with a revolver or a semi-auto?
I'm comfortable with both. I really like shooting both. I get into like my zone of of obsession with a particular gun for a given amount of time. So when I first started carrying revolvers as a backup gun or as a trail gun, I carried a single action Ruger Beasley in 45 Colt. That's kind of like my favorite caliber in this space.
Okay.
Mostly because the recoil is very mellow and the bullet's pretty big. It's a 255 grain bullet, not going very fast. It's going about the same velocity as a 45 ACP, right? But it's a bigger bullet. So I like it. I find it to be accurate. There's kind of a running joke of me going to the Arizona hunt we went javelina hunting one year, and there was those mud hens that are on the river or on the lake, on the sacred lake that the fish got his name at. There were some mud hens about, I don't know, probably like 85, 90 yards away, and I shot one of them and I hit him. So that was with that revolver. It's single action.
45?
With the 45, yeah.
Okay.
So my latest addition to my group, so this Casull we've had for a long time. It's actually my dad's gun. So we've had that in the family for a while. But this is one of my latest additions. And this is the Dirty Harry gun.
Do I feel lucky? Well, do you, punk?
So this is Hollywood right here.
This is Hollywood as crazy as it gets, because it's chrome. This was not a factory color. I bought this gun used at a gun store in LA, and somebody had it hard chromed, and that's why it's that color. This is a blue gun. Like that's the same gun that was made popular in the Dirty Harry movies, right? The 44 mag. That's chambered in 44 mag, but somebody chromed it, so it's a hard chrome. Why do I carry it? I think it's actually kind of light compared to the Ruger. The Ruger is very boxy and heavy. And this barrel is a 6-inch barrel. That's a 5.5-inch barrel. But this gun feels much more balanced. And the hard chrome really helps keeping the rust down. Really haven't had any rust issues with it, with that hard chrome. I shot a revolver class with this maybe 3 weeks ago. I was the only guy with a 44 mag shooting that class. But it shot really well and super accurate and makes steel plates move around. So I would say, because that's my new favorite, I'd probably carry that on the next few hunts. I bought the holster for it before I even bought the gun. I bought the holster at Bolsa Gunsmithing it was in the bins, like the
right
bargain bin. I think I paid $20. It was an old Bianchi.
So are you a leather holster guy?
I am a leather holster guy. I do have some polymer stuff, but I find leather to be more comfortable to wear over long periods of time.
Really?
I think so. I think it is. And
because leather's it's got weight on it, right?
Yeah, it does. It does.
And there's so much technology with synthetics, plastic, all that stuff that just kind of is a lot lighter, does the same thing, but you prefer leather.
I do. For the revolvers, leather you have a custom holster made most of the time. So there isn't as much support products in the polymer world for revolvers. Maybe for 686s, like the smaller 2-inch barrel gun, but for the larger stuff, you hardly can find holsters that are made out of polymer. It's okay with me because I really do like leather anyway.
So when it comes to like revolvers versus semi-automatics, one of the things that in my research that kind of made me think, and I had to make a decision at one point, was the reliability of the shot in terms of, is this gun going to shoot in the moment that I need it to shoot? And there were obvious cases that if you want the gun to work, you're going to go revolver.
Yeah.
If you want like that chance of, hey, this may jam, or given the situation and how a semi-automatic functions in terms of shooting the bullet, releasing the bullet, getting ready to fire again, you could be in a situation where there's a misfire or something doesn't work. How much of that weighs in your decision to carry a revolver versus a semi-automatic?
Not much. Okay. That's been an argument that's been made for revolvers for the longest time, and it's a good argument. I think it's true. I think there is some truth to it. However, for me, the bigger advantage to the revolver was the flexibility of what projectiles were available and the performance that I can get out of it by hand loading them. For example, for the 45 ACP or the 10 mil mag, you're probably going to have maybe 6 different bullets, and maybe if you factor in like the different bullet weights, it'll probably be 12. And for the revolver, it's much more than that. If you wanted to, I could hand load for these revolvers at the higher spectrum of what is SAMI specs. Basically, I can load it to the higher spectrum, right? Where there's limitations to semi-auto. I mean, if you shoot plus P loads through any semi-auto for a long period of time, you're going to break something. You're going to break an extractor. You're going to break a spring. Something will break. So I don't want to, getting back to the reliability, in that aspect, if I wanted to shoot a plus P type load, you run the risk of breaking an extractor and then you can't use it. Like if you break the extractor, it won't extract the shell. You're gonna have a jam.
Right.
You got a one shot. So here I could go to the higher spectrum that's still within safety parameters, and no problem. For me, that's the case. So if I felt like I was going to go on an arduous type of a hunt, I would go with the smaller barrels. I'd go with the 4-inch Colt. I'd like to get a 4. I'm actually bidding on a 4-inch 44 mag. Same revolver, just 4 inches.
Good luck.
I'm trying to get that. It's
You may need a bigger case and a bigger foam pad for the next episode that we talk about handguns.
I fell in love with the Model 29. This is what that is. It's the Model 29. It really is. It's a great shooting gun. And look, I like the Ruger. However, the trigger, there aren't as many people that can do trigger jobs and stuff like that. So there's an advantage to the Smith & Wesson. Smith & Wesson is, all of its dimensions is very proportionate. It's a very balanced gun. It's a balanced gun in your hand. Actually, here, I'll let you hold and see what you think. I'll have you hold both of them. You tell me. Close the cylinder and pull the trigger a couple times. It's obviously unloaded. Okay, now cock the hammer back a little bit. All the way back, yeah.
There we go.
That's your single action. So see, if you want to take a precision shot, that's the other thing too. You get a really good trigger pull with a revolver if you cock the gun back. You cock the hammer back. You're going to get a very nice trigger pull. You're going to go down to 2 pounds or something like that, 2.5 pounds.
That's obviously a lot lighter.
Try this Ruger. So that's a Ruger Red Hawk. For those of you listening on the podcast, can't see the camera. And if you notice, it's all jeweled out. For those of you that are,
this is fancy, bro. It's
pretty fancy. So somebody jeweled it out. I bought that gun used maybe about 8 months ago, and they jeweled it out. They machined it. They made it look like a little piece of jewelry. The trigger, I think, on the Smith is much better. And even though the Ruger has a shorter barrel, I don't think it's as balanced as a Smith & Wesson.
I like the Dirty Harry.
Yeah, it's pretty damn nice. So I got to show you this one. So you have a comparison of action. So sorry for those of you guys that are just listening. You're gonna have to bear with us here.
They can hear the click.
We're fondling guns right now,
and they can watch Jojo basically show how much he does not know about revolvers. So this is an educational episode for me.
Right on. So that one has had a trigger job by Master Gunsmith, just basically cleaned up. It's a very smooth, very reliable on double action. It doesn't have that little catch.
Right.
So if you squeeze on double action just very smoothly, you'll feel that it doesn't have a catch. It's just very smooth.
That's nice.
Yeah, he made sure that the timing was in good shape. This was a used gun too. I bought this, I think, at Bolsa Gunsmithing, and he rounded off the trigger, so the trigger's round. The trigger used to be as big as the full size one. So it's a beautiful. And this guy's a Smith & Wesson gunsmith. He's a certified gunsmith, so it's like a factory.
So is that your brand?
Man, for revolvers, I think that's it. I should note these are all vintage. So these are from the 70s and 80s. The new ones have these locks. If you turn the short 2-inch barrel one, it has a key lock or a trigger lock. That's what that little hole is. See, this one doesn't have it. That little thing has a key. You can lock the cylinder so you can keep people from opening it, and then you lose the key, and then you're in massive frustration when you need the gun.
Another thing, right? Longevity. So would you say that a revolver will definitely last longer than a semi-auto?
The other thing about semi-autos, right, especially if you're talking about the striker fire, is that the springs, the internal springs, they fatigue.
Right.
So if you leave them, you don't want to leave them cocked, because everything's under tension. When you're putting them away, you want to make sure that they're empty, that they're unloaded, and there's no springs that are on tension, because that's how you'll lose tension on the springs. So you'll have a malfunction. So, yeah, I mean, this is one of these things that you can load it and put it in your safe, and then
you've obviously shown us a lot of choices.
Yeah.
In terms of like weight,
yeah,
are revolvers heavier or lighter, or does it not necessarily make any difference between semi-auto? Because semi-auto, it seems like when it comes to the overall body, the barrel, you're obviously going to have the barrel, but just the body, the gun itself, you can make from different materials that may be lighter. So Am I correct to say that semi-autos, like a Glock, because they're not all like a Glock where you've got other parts to it that make it lighter, but are semi-automatic guns normally lighter than revolvers?
Yes, except for the Smith & Wesson PD series, which has a aluminum scandium frame and basically titanium cylinders. So
a lot of metal.
Well, yes, but it's much lighter. Now, they're not fun to shoot because they're so light. But as far as like a gun that if you were really worried about weight but you still wanted to carry a revolver, then you could look at that line. And they come in a 44 mag, and I think it's the 329 PD. And they make a 357 Magnum. They're more expensive, but so generally speaking, yes, the semi-autos, particularly the Glocks, the polymer guns, they're going to be lighter than the revolvers. If you wanted to find kind of a very close comparison, you could go with the 357 686 with the red frame, this with a 2-inch barrel. That is a much lighter gun, obviously, than the bigger ones. And you get an extra round. You won't have a 10-round capacity like you would with the other ones, but it's going to be a trade-off. You could say that the 357 Magnum, especially with a heavier bullet, has very close, I think, performance to a 10 mil with the added reliability of being a revolver. So it's going to boil down to personal preference.
When it comes to this gun right here, you said you can chamber 7, right? Is that a common number? So when you look at a revolver, I'm thinking like it's holding 6 shots.
Yep,
I'm guessing that's the most common amount of bullets that a revolver is going to hold. So in terms of options, you've presented to us like the 7. Is there anything else out there is there more than that? Is there less than that?
I think that's it. I think maybe there was some like rumbling that there was one revolver that was in an N frame. That's going to be a bigger frame than that little 2-incher that had 8 rounds. But I can't remember what the model number is off the top of my head. Like, I think the truth is, if you consider this, your rifle is probably going to be like a 2+1 or a 3+1 on the rifle. If you had a 6-shooter, you're already ahead of the game. If you had a critical malfunction or whatever with your rifle and you pulled out your revolver, you got 6. So, you should be able to handle, a worst case scenario with 6. And if you carry an extra little speed strip or something like that, that's just a little added backup to your backup. Again, I think for me, it's mostly the power factor and the flexibility of the cartridges that are available. And the 357 Magnum is a very flexible cartridge. You have a lot of different bullet weights. The 45 Colt.
I was just going to ask though, like in terms of the cartridge, and you mentioned the term flexibility, what does that mean? So that means bullet weight
and power.
Else?
Power, really power. If I want to go to the range, let's say we want to go to the range and I just want to shoot and I don't want to get my hand all beat up, right? I could shoot my 45 Colt with a lighter load, and man, it's like a 38 special. Have you ever fired a 38 special?
I have not.
Oh, well, we got to fix it. That's a big problem right now. so we have to remedy that.
I'm sure you got 4.
So think of like the recoil of a 9mm. You shot a 9mm,
yes.
right? So it's 9mm is probably a little bit more recoil than a 38. 38 is very mild. So I could load the 45 Colt to a milder velocity, and I could do the same thing for the 44 mag. So you could shoot a 44 mag at 1,800 feet per second, which is brutal recoil. Like your hand, you shoot 3 or 4, and your hand is like, why are you doing this? And if you notice, I have rubber grips on the bigger guns, and it's because of that. It really does help with the recoil on your hand. This wood grip on this short 4-incher. It's a beautiful wood grip. I bought it because it's so nice. It's a nice walnut. But if I shoot hotter loads with it, it's not fun at all. On the heavier bore guns, I definitely have a rubber grip. So for me, it's mostly it's just power. That's all it is. I would like a reliable. I've shot pigs with the 45 Colt, and I've put pigs down, so I know that it works. You took that 45 Colt as your primary use for taking down the pig, or did you have something else? And then it was like, oh, okay, now I've got to grab my handgun. First of all, I don't use the sidearm as just backup. So we went on this on our pig hunt in Riverside. On that place that closed down, and there was an incident where said pig was shot with a bow, shot with rifles, shot with pistols, and said pig was running around. And I didn't do that. It was one of the other members.
Did you nickname the pig?
The pig was called Lucky until I hit him with the 45 Colt, and then he got pretty unlucky. But it was a massacre. That's what it was.
Sounds like it.
Yeah. So that thing carried on. That whole series of unfortunate events carried on for probably about 15 minutes. By the time from the first time that pig was struck with something till it died, it was just kind of like a rodeo.
Sounds like a story.
It was a story on its own. So anyway, I've killed quite a few pigs with the 45 Colt. I haven't shot anything with the Magnum, with the 44 Magnum, and I actually shot a pig with the 454 Casull. Pigs are one of the best game animals to test your ballistics on because they're so tough. You can hit a good shot on a pig, and it'll still keep running. So if you can bring a pig down with one or two shots from your handgun, it's going to work. And look, I mean, your 10 millimeter would have probably done just as good.
Right.
It's just I kind of like the old school. I like the old school leather. I like I like loading for them, and in some cases I'll load to the max, and that'll be my hunting loads.
So if you were to get rid of all the guns on the table in the treasure chest, and you could just pick one to live out, and this is the only handgun that Langosta is going to have, what are you choosing to take with you?
I would have to probably consider this bad boy here that I haven't brought out at all. This gun here is a Ruger Red Hawk. So that's a special gun. And I'll tell you what's special about it. That gun shoots 45 Colt, but it also has a recess on the front, and you can put 45 ACP. So that cylinder can load both ammo. And, there's nothing terribly fancy about that gun, but it is a very practical gun. The barrel length is 3 inches, so it's a happy medium between a full-size 6-incher and a 2-incher.
It's got some weight to it.
It's got weight to it, so you can see that if you look at the steel, it's very thick. It's clunky. The barrel's thick as hell. It's pretty clunky. So what that means is you can load some pretty hot loads in that too. And if you're telling me that's the only gun that I would have, because of the flexibility that I could shoot 2 different calibers, one of which is very common, a 45 ACP is a very common caliber, I would probably choose that. If you ask me what's the second one, it would be the Model 29 Smith & Wesson, the hard nickel one, this guy right here.
The Dirty Harry.
The Dirty Harry. Yeah, that's what I would use.
It's kind of funny because in California, right, laws for hunting and carrying sidearms varies from state to state, and particularly here in California, and me kind of being a bow hunter, or my first choice of weapon of choice is going to be archery. When hunting, you can't carry a firearm along with you. And that's something that's in California, which is different from other states, and people who are listening from out of state must be thinking like California's got some messed up rules, but...
So, we haven't done enough research on it to come to a conclusion, and maybe somebody listening to this can actually comment in the chats. But, I think that the fact that California has the CCW laws, and if the gun is meant for CCW for your personal protection, is not your gun to be used to take, to hunt.
Right.
I don't know. I'm curious to see. We're gonna ask some of our friends that are in the fish and game department and see how possessing a lawful CCW holder can, if they're allowed to carry when they're bow hunting. I'd be curious to know that.
It's like phone a friend moment.
Yeah, we're gonna have to do that. So speaking of, I think that's it as far as revolvers and handguns, right?
Yeah, I think we talked about a lot, right? And if people are trying to make a choice in regard to what they're going to carry as their trail gun, as we kind of phrased it, or their sidearm, there's a lot of things out there that you've got to consider from what are you going to carry? Are you going to carry a revolver? Are you going to carry a semi-auto? What caliber? What bullet? And obviously within the different calibers, you can modify what the bullet's going to be in terms of weight. But it's all going to come down to personal preference. It's going to come down to what is it that you want? Do you want reliability? Are you more concerned about the weight? How you're going to hold it? There's a lot of things that go into consideration. And, as with anything in hunting and fishing, when you get your first one, it's not the last one.
That's right.
So you can tell yourself all you want. All I want is one gun, right?
That's right.
And that's the thing that I did when I bought my Glock 20 SF. I was like, okay, I need one gun that's going to work for every case, every scenario. All I need is one.
Right.
And as soon as I bought it, the moment I left the store, I was thinking to myself, okay, how am I going to get away with it from my wife, basically, who I just promised, no, babe, it's just going to be one. And I'm already wanting number 2.
Right.
And that number 2 for me is going to be, I actually don't know what it's going to be, because after having this conversation, I'm thinking to myself that I kind of want me a revolver just to kind of have in my bag of tricks. And then I'm pretty sure after I get that said revolver that I'm going to go back and think about getting a 9mm semi-auto, and then guess what? I've got 3, right? But
that's how it happens. That's how it happens.
That is how it happens.
It happens that way.
I learned really quickly, because getting into this, right, you're thinking about funds, and you're thinking about how much I'm going to spend on this hobby, how much am I going to spend on hunting, how much I'm going to spend on my equipment, and the moment that you buy one, it is like automatic that you're going to end up with more. And however much I told myself that I'm just going to get what I need and I'm going to be done, I'm not done.
Yeah.
I am not done, but it's going to be personal choice. There's actually a lot of places around town that people can go to. And if you don't have friends, if you don't have the people that have or provide you the opportunity to shoot different types of guns, a lot of the gun ranges, they'll rent stuff out for you to shoot.
Absolutely.
And you can kind of get a feel for it, right?
Absolutely.
And I think when it comes to handguns, you've got a couple of different, you've got a couple of different spectrums. You've got the people that collect the handguns. You got the people that like to just go shoot guns at the range and kind of have that appreciation for it and have that enjoyment for just doing that. And then the people that are kind of thinking of it more from just a hunting perspective. What am I going to have for me as protection, as my sidearm? And all of those thoughts, whoever or wherever they fall in the spectrum, they're going to have that to kind of help guide their decision-making process. But I'd recommend going down to a gun range and shooting all kinds of guns.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's LA Gun Club in downtown LA has a really good selection of revolvers.
Yeah.
If you wanted to,
I've been there before, and they've got their wall.
Yeah, they've got a great selection. They got a great selection of semi-autos. But if you want to like to dive into or put your toe into the pool of revolvers, of wheel guns, there's definitely a lot of guns there to rent out. So it's a kind of a cool resource for shooters to go and check out. Jojo, let's go to the next section, Jojo's Corner.
So in Jojo's Corner, what I want to do, I kind of want to touch base and kind of go over some important deadlines. I know last week I did a conservation minute, or the other week I did a conservation minute, and one of the things that's coming up is are hunt deadlines, right? Everybody's thinking about going hunting, and one of the things that is important is knowing when to put in your application. So are you going, did you put in for any states this year?
I have not, and no, I'll tell you about where I'm going. You go first.
Okay, I'll go first. So I put in for a couple of states. Obviously, with some of these states, it's a point draw system, it's a bonus point system, it's a random draw system. I put in for Arizona, was unsuccessful in Arizona. Arizona has already had their big game draw for elk, and unfortunately, I was not successful. But coming up, there is a deadline on March 20th for New Mexico elk. So anybody interested in New Mexico elk, Barbary sheep, Rocky bighorn sheep, desert bighorn sheep, mule deer, white-tailed deer, Coues deer, ibex, javelina, antelope, oryx, pretty much everything on the list. March 20th is going to be that deadline. New Mexico has a random draw. So there's a lot of people that kind of, they really like the fact that it's not about bonus points. Everybody has the same opportunity. You know, you put your name into the draw, somebody's hand goes in there, somebody's hand comes out. If your name is in there, you had the same chance as everybody else. So that's coming up on March 20th. Another big one that everybody's talking about is coming up in the beginning of April. So a couple of other big western states, Montana, their draw is coming up on April 1st, and that's for mule deer, white-tailed deer, and elk. And then Colorado, a big state. I think a lot of people from California look to Colorado to do some elk hunting because there's a lot of opportunity opportunity. There's good elk. If you don't draw, there's over-the-counter tag opportunities. But coming up on April 2nd in Colorado, their draw is going to be due. So that's going to be for mule deer, whitetail deer, elk, antelope, and again, a long list of animals. Obviously, you can go to any one of the state reg websites or go to gohunt.com, which is one of the platforms that I use, and I think millions of hunters across the nation are currently using because it's so easy to use. And then most importantly, there is a tentative date for application deadlines coming up for California. So for us that are here in California, June 2nd is the tentative date for applications due for the big game draw. So a lot of stuff going on there. Just talking about things more current, do you have anything coming up?
Yeah, I put together a pheasant hunt at the end of the month. We're going to be going to Lone Pine Pheasant Club in beautiful Lone Pine, California. Talking about a really beautiful California hunt. This is a planted hunt for pheasant. Great outfitters out there. Beautiful scenery. It's at the base of Mount Whitney, and I don't know what the snow situation is going to be on the ground, but we went last year. We had a great time, and we're gonna do it again. And
how many times have you been there?
I think this is going to be our third time.
How'd you guys do last year?
Last year was phenomenal. We had a great turnout. Everybody got their bird limits. It was really cool. And we had some younger people. A couple of the guys brought their kids, their son, so they got to have the exposure to that area. It's pretty fun, pretty cool. And we've got a couple guys in our club that have bird dogs, so it's great. It's great practice for their dogs and keep them on the birds. So that part's gonna be fun. That's gonna be the end of this month, and then in June we have our big trip to Namibia. Yeah, so this is gonna be my third trip to Africa. And this time I'm bringing some of the club members with me. So I got a couple guys.
It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, it'll be 4 of us total. And we're going to go for a plains game hunt in the Namibian desert. And then after that, hopefully we'll have a little bit of time to go surf fishing for sharks. I guess, Africa is not a place that you go.
Very different.
Dipping into the beach and frolic in the water. There's big critters in there. So we're going to do a little surf fishing, and then we're going to go up to the national park at Stosha, and I'm really excited to see the desert elephant there.
How long are you going to be gone for?
We're going to be gone for a little bit over 2.5 weeks. Not as long as I was in Zimbabwe last year, just because everybody's schedule. It's hard to get everybody on the same schedule. So
I bet, especially traveling that far.
Yeah, but it's 2.5 days of traveling, so you can't go there.
That's crazy.
You can't go there for 4 or 5 days. You got to be there for a while. So we're going to hunt for 7 days, and then we're going to be tourists for another 5, and then it'll take us 2 days to get home.
Right on.
So it's going to be cool. It's going to be real cool.
Right.
I wish I could take one of my revolvers. I can't. Namibia. And I haven't gotten a real clear answer other than everybody seems to think that it's a big hassle to get the guns in there. The handguns, where I'm going to take my rifle, but the handguns, apparently South Africa is not a problem if you're going to hunt with a handgun. No problem at all. In fact, there's an instructor at Gunsight who has a picture online of her going Cape Buffalo hunting with a revolver. I think she shot with a .454 Casull. Could have been that same Red
Cape
Hawk.
Buffalo hunting with a handgun.
With a handgun, yeah. At the extreme. It's the extreme.
That's crazy.
It's at the extreme.
Oh, I'm going to go hunting. Oh, yeah, what are you using? A handgun?
Well, but guys go with a bow and arrow.
Buffalo?
I think it's just as crazy shooting a Cape Buffalo with a bow.
True.
People go shooting with a bow, and they'll shoot a line with a bow. That's a bad idea. It's a bad idea. It's just bad. Anyway. And then I'm hoping to squeeze in there a little trip to your native state of Hawaii.
There you go.
I'm going to go to Maui and see if we can get some axis deer and help control the local pet population of axis deer.
It's awesome over there. You have no idea.
Looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to sharing some of the pictures and stuff of the adventures.
It's going to be great, man. There's going to be tons of pictures. I can't believe it's going to be your third trip to Africa. Like a lot of people out there, think about Africa and it's like a once in a lifetime opportunity, but you've obviously found the connections, the ability to do it. That's fantastic.
Africa is not as expensive as most people think. I think the outfitter that we're going with this time, it's $3,800, $3,500. But here's the kicker. You can bring a friend for free. You could split you could split the cost, but you can also split because it's 4 animals, right? And so you could split, like, let's say I've already shot a couple of kudu. I don't want another kudu. So my buddy's going to he's going to shoot the kudu. So in essence, we get to spend 7 days there for half of that, right? So it's $1,700, something like that. It's going to be. So, I mean, granted, $1,700 is a lot of money for some people, but if you were to go on a guided hunt for anything here, it's not going to be $1,700.
Yeah.
It's going to be $5,000.
It's going to be a lot.
Yeah. Plus the tag and all the other stuff. So yeah, we're spending $1,500 on the flight and then another $1,700. I think people could, if they wanted to, they could make that happen.
Well, I think a lot of people out there that want to hunt in Africa, it's just that, right? They think about cost first, and then the initial thought is there's no way that I'm ever going to be able to afford this. But then you kind of start digging into it, and then you find deals, you find people that have done it before, you learn, and then you find out what the true cost is, and you may be surprised. And it sounds like that's what you found with what you've been doing there.
Yes. I that's 100% true. Look, it's like anything else. You can buy a car that's $6,000, or you can buy a car that's $600,000, and certainly there's super big money hunt, elephant hunts that are $100,000 and all that stuff there. But there's stuff for the common man. We on my first trip, I think one of the other members, he spent, I want to say like $1,200, $1,300. I think his trip all in was $2,000.
Not bad at all.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was during COVID and the flights.
You got airfare and everything like that, but that, again, comparing it to a guided hunt anywhere here, you can a guided hunt here, you could spend upwards of like $8,000-$10,000.
Well, yeah.
Easy.
And if you went on a bear hunt, which would be our version of a dangerous game hunt, you're talking $22,000, $25,000. I know that for some people, the money is a problem. I think for most people, money is not the problem. The problem is the fear of the unknown. You thinking you're just going to go into like some black hole, and there are parts of Africa that are scary. Okay, I'm not gonna soft sell that, but
we're like previewing a whole episode right now.
Yeah. Well, that definitely can be an episode on its own. But with that said, once you're in the hunting concessions, you're not going to get snatched or stuff like that.
Right.
It's totally safe.
Yeah. The only thing you're scared of is the animal you're hunting.
Right. We got out of my little hut thing, and there was like hyenas cackling outside, and there's no fence. There's nothing. So there's that. We're walking another time, and there was some lionesses in the tall grass.
It's just a lioness. They don't hurt you.
And you go across the river, and there's a bunch of crocs.
Just a crocodile.
Yeah.
Don't worry about them.
Yeah. So there's definitely that component of it. But I think if a person has the will, there's a way, and you just gotta find a good outfitter that you can trust and that has good recommendations. I think the biggest danger of going to Africa is that you're very, very likely to just want to come back over and over and over again.
Yeah, that could be the biggest danger, the fact that you're leaving for 2 weeks and it's like, okay, what's back at home?
Well, there's that, but I mean that's its own problems. You got kids and you got a family, and everybody's complaining that you're not there. So that's just one of those things. But I'm going to tell you, I'll leave you with this last thought. Most of the trips, so this is going to be. It's going to be our third trip, and I've stayed at a few of the hunters' lodges that are there in Johannesburg overnight, and I got to meet some really interesting people, really cool people, and I'm going to tell you that many of them were going over there later in life, in their 70s, maybe even 80s, and don't wait that long. Don't do that. Go early, go when you're younger, even if it's a little bit of a stretch financially, go at least once and get that experience under your belt. And you'll see that if you like it, you'll always want to come back. I think about hunting in Africa almost every day. I think about like, what do I need to prepare? What gadget I need to buy? And it's a constant daily obsession about it.
That's become your thing. You talk about it a lot.
I do talk about it a lot. When I got back, I was planning the next trip.
Right.
And it's just because, I don't know, it maybe is the same sensation that cowboys that run cattle in the Rocky Mountains or somewhere else, maybe even the Great Plains of Alaska, or the mountain ranges of Alaska, where like you just love being there. Like you can't believe you're blessed to be there, and when you are there, it just goes by so quickly, and when you're gone, you miss it so much.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah,
like you found your deal.
Yeah,
and you're bringing a lot of people along with you too, which is great.
I'm hoping to infect as many of you as possible.
Hey,
with the Africa bug.
you've got quite a few already. You know, everybody's wondering. Whenever you bring it up, everybody's just kind of, you know, you see them reach into their back pocket, look into their wallet, or look at their phone, bring up the Google Calendar, figure out what's going on. I don't have anything as exotic as that coming up. I'm kind of in fishing mode. To me, this is kind of the time of the year. It's like, okay, well, let's talk about saltwater. So stuff that I've got coming up in a couple of weeks. I'm thinking about going on the Native Sun right out of here, out of 22nd Street Landing on the Native Sun. Really is going on a halibut trip, and it's a 3/4 day trip. So I'm really looking at that, which I think would be a lot of fun. There's a couple of other 1 day, 2 day trips that I'm kind of, can I go, can I not go, kind of mapping out that vacation calendar, because for me, it's the time of year where it's like, okay, I've got this much vacation time that I can put in for. What am I going to do from a fishing perspective, hunting perspective, family perspective, and trying to make it all fit? Yeah. The other thing that's coming up for everybody here in California is that March 30th, spring turkey is opening up. Oh, yeah. So kind of around the country, there's a lot of turkey seasons that are opening up for spring. California has spring turkey opening up March 30th. So all right, that's going to be some opportunity. I'm taking a look at that. That's kind of taking place on a Saturday. And then, you know, lobster season's actually closing up here too.
That's right.
Lobster's closing up. I've seen a lot of Facebook posts, a lot of Instagram posts of people that are going out, and it's just been a really good season for lobsters.
Really? Season, that's good.
They've had a good season.
I haven't been out. Normally I go in fog banks, but at least a few times a season, and just wasn't able to connect.
Yeah, we went out on a day that was supposed to be the best day ever. Yeah. No wind, super glass. It was just going to be epic. And the moment we left the protection of the harbor, it was not as said by the meteorologist. Like the weather report was 100% opposite of what it was supposed to be. Yeah. So it
had
was
a Gilligan's Island moment.
I mean,
you guys almost ended in Catalina.
Yeah. Right out of the ocean came a U-turn sign. We just did the U-turn and ended up with like a harbor fishing excursion. So it was a fun night. But outside of that, I've just been surf fishing. Yeah, you know, I've been.
You guys went out that other morning. Yeah.
We went out a couple of weeks ago. The water's still really cold, kind of in our neck of the woods here around Redondo. So nothing was really biting. So just kind of waiting for everything to kind of click on. But now that spring's here, we've turned our clocks back. We get 1 hour less of sleep. Yeah. It's just a matter of time. So it's kind of going out on the weekends. I wake up early every morning. So for me, surf fishing, if I can go every weekend, at least once a weekend, hit the beach 5:30 in the morning. Get in an hour and a half. You can tell right away if things are going to be good, not going to be good. Have that vibe going. Come home, first cup of coffee. I'm good to go. But surf fishing, I'm going to be doing a lot more of that. So excited to do some fishing now.
So let me ask you, since you like surf fishing, and one of the common fish caught surf fishing is corbina. Yeah. Is that good eating? You like that?
I've never ate corbina. So for me, fishing has, for the most part, really been about catch and release, especially from the surf fishing.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, for me, it's been about catch and release here in California. So when I go down to the beach, I'm catching croaker, surf perch, corbina, halibut. There's all kinds of things out there. I've even caught striped bass, which was just absolutely amazing. When I didn't expect to catch one, I caught one, and it was just crazy. But everything that I've caught so far, it's just been catch and release. Just love being out there, feet in the sand, cold water, waves crashing, throwing out the rod and reel.
Looking forward to spring. Morning fishing is fun.
Yeah, it's going to be great.
Well, guys, thanks for hanging out for our third episode. Really enjoyed talking to you about hunting and fishing and the revolvers. I hope you enjoyed it. If you haven't done so already, please like and subscribe. My good friend and co-host, Jojo, thanks very much, Bahal.
Yeah, no worries. Just wanted to say mahalo to everybody for listening, for watching. We're very excited to be here with you in Langosta. Thank you very much again for educating me in regard to wheel guns, semis, allowing me to ask some questions and you providing the answers as the expert you are.
It's always fun, whether you're talking about rifles, rods, or broads. Bye, guys.